The person who tried to destroy everything I'd built over 45 years called me Grandpa. $67,000. That's the price I almost paid for wanting to believe in mercy one more time. I'm Reverend Marcus Williams, 81 years old, and I've pastored Mount Zion Baptist Church here in Denver for 45 years. My wife Eleanor has Alzheimer's, and our congregation has shrunk from 300 souls to barely 70 on a good Sunday. I was vulnerable, yes, but not in the way you might think. It started on a Tuesday morning in late September. I was sitting at my desk in the church office, going through the bills, trying to figure out how we'd make next month's utilities, when my cell phone rang. Unknown number, but I answered anyway. Always have, always will. Grandpa Marcus? The voice was young, male, frantic, crying hard. My heart seized up. I have 4 grandchildren, but this voice could have been my oldest grandson, DeAndre. DeAndre? Baby, what's wrong? Grandpa, I'm in so much trouble. Heavy sobbing. I'm in jail. I was driving through Wyoming with some friends, and oh God, Grandpa, they found drugs in the car. They weren't mine. I swear on everything they weren't mine. But the police, they're saying I'm getting charged with possession, with intent to distribute. Every alarm bell I developed over 4 decades of counseling troubled youth should have been ringing. But this boy sounded so broken, so terrified. Slow down, son. Tell me where you are. Cheyenne. The detention center in Cheyenne. Grandpa, they're saying my bail is $30,000. Mom and Dad can't know about this. Dad will kill me. He told me if I messed up one more time, more sobbing. I'm supposed to start that internship next month. This will ruin everything. Please, Grandpa. Please. You're the only one I can call. Let me talk to your lawyer, I said, trying to steady my own voice. He's right here. His name is David Brennan. He says he can get me out today if we post bail. The phone shuffled, and a new voice came on, older, professional, with that clipped efficiency lawyers have. Reverend Williams? David Brennan, Public Defender's Office here in Laramie County. I apologize for the circumstances of this call. Your grandson is in a difficult situation, but I believe we can resolve this quickly. The bail is set at $30,000. If we can arrange payment today, I can have him released by this evening. Why can't his parents know? I asked. Sir, your grandson is 22 years old. He has the right to determine who he contacts. Between you and me, I've seen families torn apart over situations like this. If the charges are dropped, and I believe they will be, once we demonstrate the drugs belong to the driver, there's no reason this needs to follow him. But we need to move quickly. I looked around my office, pictures of Eleanor and me on our wedding day, 60 years ago. Photos of every confirmation class, every vacation Bible school, every Easter sunrise service, 45 years of ministry in these walls. I need to think about this, I said. Grandpa, please. DeAndre's voice came back on, desperate now. They're saying if I can't post bail, I'll be here for weeks waiting for a trial date. I'll lose the internship. I'll lose everything. Please, I've never asked you for anything. That part was true, at least about my real grandson. DeAndre had always been so independent, so proud. If he was asking for help, it meant he was truly desperate. How do I send the money? I asked. The lawyer came back on. The fastest method is wire transfer. I'll text you the account information for the court's bail processing center. It's through Western Union. Once the transfer completes, I'll have your grandson released within 2 hours. Can I call you back at the public defender's office? A pause, just a heartbeat. Of course, but Reverend, I should mention that the arraignment is scheduled for 4 p.m. If bail isn't posted by then, your grandson will be held over until Monday. That's 5 more days in detention. I looked at the clock. It was 11:30 a.m. Let me pray on this, I said. Give me 30 minutes. Grandpa, Please, DeAndre's voice cracked. I'm so scared. There are people in here who I just want to come home. I closed my eyes. I thought about all the young men I'd counseled over the years, the ones who'd made mistakes, the ones whose families had given up on them. I'd always preached redemption, always believed in second chances. What kind of hypocrite would I be if I didn't extend that same grace to my own grandson? Send me the information, I said. The wire transfer instructions came through within minutes. I drove to my bank, First Colorado Bank on Colfax, where I'd done business for 30 years. The teller, a young woman named Jessica who always asked about Eleanor, processed the $30,000 transfer without question. My hands shook as I signed the forms. Big expense, Reverend Williams? She asked gently. Family matter, I said. Emergency. DeAndre called me an hour later, sobbing with relief. Grandpa, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm out. Brennan got me released. I'm never putting you through this again, I swear. You call your mama, I told him. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. She deserves to know. I will. I promise. I love you, Grandpa. I felt good when I hung up. Exhausted, but good. I'd helped my grandson. I'd lived my faith. 3 days later, DeAndre called again. Except this time, the voice sounded different. Still young, still anxious, but something was off. Grandpa, it's me again. Look, there's a problem. The lawyer just called. He said the drug charges are more serious than they thought. They found fentanyl, not just marijuana. The prosecutor is pushing for a felony charge. Brennan says he can make this go away completely, but he needs a retainer, $15,000. If we don't pay it, I'm looking at 5 to 10 years. My stomach turned cold. Put the lawyer on. He's in court right now. But Grandpa, he sent over the retainer agreement. I'm texting it to you now. We need to move fast. The plea deadline is Monday. The document looked official enough, letterhead, case numbers, legal jargon I didn't fully understand, but something felt wrong. I need to call DeAndre directly, I said. Give me his real number. A pause. Grandpa, I'm calling from a friend's phone. Mine got confiscated as evidence. Look, if you don't trust me, just forget it. I'll figure something else out. Maybe I deserve to go to prison anyway. The guilt hit like a punch. Here was a young man in crisis, and I was doubting him. How do I send it? I asked. This time it was Bitcoin. The lawyer sent detailed instructions on how to purchase cryptocurrency through an ATM and transfer it to a digital wallet. It took me 3 hours in 2 different convenience stores, but I managed it. $15,000 converted and sent into the digital ether. I felt sick afterward. Not just worried sick. Something was deeply wrong. 2 weeks later, another call. A different voice this time, older, female, claiming to be the prosecutor's office. My grandson had violated his bail conditions. There was a warrant. Unless I paid an additional $12,000 for a bail bondsman. Stop, I said. My voice came out harder than I'd intended. What's my grandson's full name? I'm sorry. His name? DeAndre Williams, right? What's his middle name? Silence. Sir, I don't have access to... His middle name is Emmanuel. DeAndre Emmanuel Williams. He was born on March 15th, 2001. His mother's name is Patricia, and she's my daughter. My only daughter, and I just called her an hour ago. You want to know where DeAndre is right now? He's in Atlanta, at his internship with Delta Airlines, where he's been for the past month. He's never been to Wyoming. He's never been arrested, and he sure as hell didn't call me crying 3 weeks ago. The line went dead. I sat in my office, the same office where I'd answered that first call, and I wept. Not just for the money, though God knows $67,000 was more than I could afford to lose. I wept because I'd been so ready to believe, so desperate to play the hero one more time, that I'd abandoned every bit of common sense I possessed. Eleanor was in memory care, costing us $5,000 a month. The church was dying slowly, and I'd promised the board I'd find a way to keep us afloat through the end of the year. And I just handed away our future to a voice on the phone. But here's what those scammers didn't know about me. I might be 81 years old. I might be tired. I might even be a fool. But I didn't survive 45 years ministering in 5 points through crack epidemics and gentrification and budget crises by giving up when things got hard. I called Patricia first. Then I called the police. Then I called Marcus Jr., my son, who works as a financial fraud investigator for the state of Colorado. That last call was the hardest, admitting to my son that I'd been conned. "Dad," he said gently, "you're not the first. These grandparent scams are everywhere. But we're going to find these people." Marcus Jr. was as good as his word. Turns out the wire transfer information led to a known scam network operating out of Jamaica and the Philippines, with money mules in the United States. The Bitcoin was harder to trace, but my son had connections with the FBI's cybercrimes unit. They'd been tracking this particular group for months. 6 weeks later, they arrested 3 people in Miami, Americans who'd been collecting and laundering the money for the overseas operation. One of them, a 24-year-old named Kyle Morrison, had been the voice of DeAndre. He'd done the same scam to 47 other grandparents across the country. I attended every court hearing. Kyle Morrison looked so young sitting at that defense table. Part of me wanted to hate him, but mostly I just felt sad. Here was someone's grandson, throwing his life away, hurting people. The criminal case resulted in convictions. Morrison got 4 years. But Marcus Jr. pushed me to file a civil suit against Morrison and the other defendants to recover the money. I didn't think we'd see a dime, but my son insisted. "Dad, they seized accounts. They froze assets. There's money there." The civil trial was brief. The evidence was overwhelming. The judge, a woman about my age named Sandra Brooks, looked at Morrison with pure disgust when she delivered her ruling. "Morrison, you and your co-defendants specifically targeted elderly victims, many of them surviving on fixed incomes, many caring for sick spouses. You exploited their love for their families and their faith in human goodness. This court awards Reverend Williams full restitution of $67,000, plus $30,000 in damages for emotional distress, plus legal fees. You have 30 days to begin payment arrangements." I got my money back. Not all at once, it came in installments over 18 months, garnished from Morrison's prison wages and seized accounts. But every dollar returned felt like a small victory. Eleanor doesn't understand what happened. Some days she doesn't remember who I am anymore. But the church is still standing. We've actually grown a little. 15 new families joined after word got out about what happened. They said they wanted to worship somewhere with a pastor who understood real struggles, real mistakes, real redemption. I still believe in second chances. I still answer unknown numbers, though now I verify everything before I act. And I still preach about mercy every Sunday. But I also tell this story. I tell it to every grandparent in my congregation, every senior citizens group that invites me to speak. I tell them about the voice on the phone, about how convincing fear can sound, about how love makes us vulnerable. Watch for these red flags. First, any grandchild who says their parents can't know is lying. Family crises, need family support, period. Second, bail money doesn't get wired to random accounts. It goes through the court system. Third, lawyers never pressure you to pay within hours. Legitimate legal processes take time. And fourth, if someone asks for Bitcoin, run courts don't accept cryptocurrency. Ever. I'm still Reverend Marcus Williams. I'm still 81 years old. I'm still pastoring Mount Zion Baptist Church. and I'm still going to believe in people's capacity for good. I just verify first now. Trust, but verify. It's a lesson I paid $67,000 to learn, but thanks to the courts, it's one I got refunded for.